Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is SewRena and I am very hoarse, so I'm going to keep this intro short. Today we are making a Frocktails gown for this year's Atl Frocktails, and the theme is Secret Garden. So I'm super excited to share the outfit that I made in just 4 days. If you're interested in seeing me make this dress, then go ahead and like and subscribe. And now let's get to it. For today's pattern, I'm using Simplicity 4688. It's a bust 30 and a half, size 9 in its junior's pattern, and I'm doing the full length skirt option, and I'll be swapping out the bodice for Gertie's Charm Patterns L'Amour bodice. It's a strapless sweetheart bodice, and I think that will suit my vision a lot better, and I really like the bell waist from the 1960s on this pattern. For the fabric, I'm using a home decor fabric. It's like a jacquard fabric. It has a beautiful abstract watercolor garden look to it, and I think it'll be perfect for the theme. To jazz it up a bit more, I'm going to be using these iridescent sequins, and I don't have time to hand sew them on, so I'll be using fabric fusion to adhere them to the fabric. I am pressed for time, seeing as I am starting this 4 days before the event and I have a lot of pieces to make. I have to make the jacket, I have to make the belt. I ordered some gloves to embellish to match the outfit, and I still need to figure out how to do my hair. I really want to do a 1960s updo, and I'm not a hair person, so yeah, I'll be struggling through this, and every minute counts, so I am just zooming through this. I've made the L'Amour bodice so many times, it's really quick, and honestly, Gertie's patterns are some of the ones that I go to when I am pressed for time, because I know how to put them together really quickly, and I can depend on her size being just so to fit me. I will link a card above for a more detailed version of me sewing up this bodice. I've made it so many times. It is a fully boned bodice, and I'm using a lighter to melt and round off the boning so that way it doesn't break through the fabric, and then I slide all of the bones in. I feel like this is so much quicker than like using a file to file it off. Moving on to the skirt, my favorite part of this whole outfit, the reason I even bought this pattern in the first place. I love that waspy look, so that's made with some big box pleats at the waist, or I should say at the waist and hip area. I am going to pin those and then baste it in. I absolutely adore this look. I feel like it's the perfect blend between someone who really likes a gathered waist and someone who wants a straight skirt. And me, I have a very one-dimensional shape. My measurements are the same throughout, so I love having that definition between my waist and my hips on a straight skirt. I'm so excited to wear this. And then once I'm done, I am sewing up the side seams. Usually I use a French seam for this, but I'm going to serge specifically because I know I'm going to fall in love with this dress, and if I ever need to take it out, I'll be able to, because I didn't use up all of the seam allowance by using a French seam. Now let's talk alterations. Besides replacing the bodice with a sweetheart strapless bodice, I also added a little bit of extra room in the skirt. I hid the extra room inside of the pleats, so that way if I do need to take it out in the future, I also have extra fabric put in there. So I actually added about an inch to the skirt, or inch and a half to the skirt. Now to hem it, I'm using some hem tape going across the bottom of the skirt so it can have a nice neat finish. I adore this. And then I'm going to hand sew the hem to finish that up. Once the skirt is complete, then it's time to work on the bodice and put the bodice pieces together. So I'm sewing the upper edge of the bodice with 5/8 seam allowance, and then I'm going to go back and do a understitch to make sure that the lining doesn't move forward. And I feel like the most time consuming part of this whole project is adding the sequins in, because I wanted to work in phases, so that way when the skirt was drying, the sequins on the skirt was drying, then I could work on the bodice and so on. So before sewing anything together, I did sequin everything first, and I just flip-flopped on the days or the times that I was working on each piece, so that way the sequins were drying and I still had time to sew, and I wasn't having so much downtime waiting for the drying with nothing to do in between, because I am pressed for time. Once I'm done assembling the bodice, it's time to attach the outer bodice to the skirt. This is a partially lined bodice, so the skirt is going to be unlined. And that's because, one, I didn't have a lining fabric. Two, it's not required that the skirt is lined. And three, I do have to add some mesh or netting to the inside of the skirt to hold up the structure of that very waspy hip. This is day 2 of the project, and I was able to get most of the dress done. I just didn't get the zipper on just yet. That means I have 2 more days until Frocktails, and I still have to start working on the jacket, which I've not cut out yet, as well as
embroidery for the glove embellishments because I want to make some freestanding lace poppies to attach to my gloves. It is day 3 of this project and I have cut out the jacket and I am sewing the darts into the jacket. I want to sew the darts first before attaching the sequins, so that way I don't have to sew on top of the sequins and have them like pointing out in a weird way. It's best to place the sequins when the piece is as flat as possible, so preferably you would be doing this before adding any darts or tucks. So if you want to do them before sewing the darts, then I would recommend you marking where the darts are so you can avoid placing the sequins there. The sequins go on really easy. I'm just using a dab of this Fabric Fusion and it's clear, and that's really good considering that the sequins are clear too since I went with iridescence. Now I am adding the bound buttonholes to the back of the jacket. I'm going to need 4 of these and I'm really working quickly at this point because I'm running out of time. I move on to my Janome Skyline S9 to start working on the little poppies that I'm going to put onto the gloves. There are 2 pieces since they're like a standalone lace, and so what I did was I sewed the back set of petals down by hand, and because the top petals are a lot thicker and harder for the needle to pass through, I decided to hot glue them to the second one. So I feel like the flower itself has a good hold onto the glove, and I think the hot glue will hold the thread to itself a lot better, if that makes sense. That way I don't accidentally glue the glove closed to where I can't slide my hand in. So this just makes sense, and I hope that makes sense to you as well. I think this outfit would look really good with a satin glove because it would match the belt, but I knew I didn't have time to do any returns and accidentally buy the wrong color, so I just went with a mesh glove for 2 reasons. One, because I felt like the mesh could be slightly off and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, and 2, since I'm going to be out in public and I know we're going to want to take a lot of pictures and photos and videos, I would be able to still use my phone, whereas if I had a satin glove, I would have to keep taking it on and off, and I didn't want to do that. I know I'm going to get a lot of wear of this outfit, especially since it can be worn 2 ways, with the jacket and without, so I'll probably get the satin gloves down the line anyway, so that way I can switch up the look. And now I'm working on the hip ruffles that's going to hold the structure of the skirt, and this is just a heavy netting that I've used for petticoats in the past. I think it's not a crinoline, it's literally called petticoat netting if you want to purchase this. And I cut out 2 strips, I gather it down to 9¼ inches, and then I attach it to a strip of bias tape. Once that's sewn on, then I hand sew it to the hips of the dress. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, and it's not because I'm not making content, but I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and finally getting out, so I've had less time to edit content and get it out to you guys. So I'm adjusting to this new change in life, trying new things, and so I hope you guys can bear with me in the meantime. That being said, this change in my life is going to bring about projects that I wouldn't otherwise have a reason to make, like this dress. I have been wanting to go to Frocktails for a very long time but didn't have the courage to go, and I finally decided to take the leap. This is the dress and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I think the fabric matches the theme perfectly without it being obviously floral print, but a nice watercolor brushstroke painting like. I adore the sequins on it. I think it's the perfect touch without it being obnoxious and taking over the piece, especially since it's all over. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel and leaving me a little comment down below. If you would like to support me any further, you can leave me a virtual tip over on Ko-fi or become a bobbin over on Patreon. We would absolutely love to have you. Thank you so much again for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Frocktails was a blast, if you could tell by my voice. I had so much fun. It's a sewing event, not specific to vintage sewers, but everyone who sews or makes any kind of textile work, including those who knit and crochet. And it was so fun to be surrounded by people who love to do the same things and see how everyone interpreted the same theme. No 2 seamstresses wore the same fabric, and it was just a blast to witness and be a part of. So again, thank you so much, and if we met at Frocktails, it was a blast to see you. I was honored to be in your presence, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.